We're smooth 98.1 FM. Good morning and welcome to Business Express, the Tech Friday edition. I've been joined by a special guest, and we intend to look at everything tech this Friday as it affects some job and how maybe somehow, someday, humans will become redundant as it's looking like right now. But I've got a guest waiting, Toluwani Adejuyigbe, CEO GO54. Good morning to you.
Hi, it was morning.
Right, you got the memo. It's a well, it's not like a Black Friday in a bad sense. It's like the color for the day, Friday is black, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I saw this article where it's stating the US is exploring the option of using AI to cut down the size of its government. That's what we're looking at this morning. Do you think artificial intelligence, that's AI, can be used to cut the cost of governance?
I mean, yes, certainly. I think with the cost of inflation and cost of living crisis we're seeing globally, it's going to be tough for government to keep, keeping up with that expense. And I think over time, there's going to be a need to leverage AI to just automate tasks and make it more efficient for business government to run.
Hmm. All right. So some days ago, I was listening to Roches got talking about something where he said, you know what, some even in the United Arab Emirates, that's the Middle East, they're exploring having a, robots sitting on boards of companies. And I said, I hope this isn't Roche's kind of imagination, but yeah, bringing this up right now just links up. And that leads us to the second question of what happens to workers replaced by AI? Where should they go? What should they do?
So I hear you. I don't see it as a total eradication of workers. I think what we're going to see is more automation of tasks. So there are going to be a lot of upskilling of existing workers, right? And so things that would take you 10 hours, you're probably going to spend 45 minutes, 1 hour doing. So it's more efficiency. But obviously, just as the internet happened 20, 25 years ago with the dot-com boom, you're going to have to see more people upskilling, right? Versus the more menial tasks that people are doing today.
Which takes us to how using AI to provide digital connectivity to MSMEs, micro small enterprises. How do you see that panning out?
I think there's lots of ways we've seen that. The AI website builders, for example, which we have, which helps people who you don't have access to a developer, the resources to build a website, right? So you just type in my industry, my name, the colors I want, and boom, in 10 seconds you have a full website, right? And I think that's very exciting, and I think it's an easy way for people to get online without having to do the full, buy a website, set it up, etc.
I'll get back to you shortly, but I need to get over to the clients now, that's our listeners, because we do business. And so they want to be part of this conversation. So if you're listening at this moment, you'd like to be part of this conversation, let's get your thoughts coming on to the WhatsApp platform on 0809 444 0981. WhatsApp message 0809 444 0981. And the question is, do you feel threatened that someday you might be replaced by artificial intelligence at your place of work? And are you ready for that? Are you making plans for that? Are you just going to sit there waiting? Well, let's hear what your thoughts would be if you send them across to 0809 444 0981. Let's bring this conversation home to Nigeria. Nigeria's internet penetration hovers around some 50%. And how can digital connectivity for the purpose of financial inclusion be achieved if half of the country is still left out of the web?
Yeah, I hear that, and I think that that's a very fair question. What we've seen over the last few years is businesses getting strategy right. For example, companies like MoneyPoint actually use the offline as a hook. So you go to most places, you see the blue POS terminals. All right, so you get that, use that for 6 months, 9 months. Next question is, how can I know how much I'm making? How can I, get analytics on who's buying, what product is selling? And then that customer needs to get a MoneyPoint account, needs to come online, needs to get a dashboard. So I think we need to meet the offline market where they are, as opposed to forcing people to leapfrog online. So I think it's a lot of how do you take the online products to the offline market.
Looking at Nigeria and looking at neighboring African countries, they've been able to achieve financial inclusion. Kenya comes to mind. Why can't we really get that template and run with it?
We can, and I think we are, and I think the results will show themselves in the next few years. We're a few years behind Kenya from the M-Pesa Safaricom movement, and I think we have a few players today, MoneyPoint, OPay, that are just leapfrogging that with payment offline. But I think in the next 4 or 5 years, right, most people are going to be using either those POSs or QR codes or USSD, and you're just going to see a more massive adoption of that over time.
Let's still explore this financial inclusion thing. It's looking like even the banks are willing to outsource their jobs right now to these outlets. So we see less persons in banking halls these days. So it's a reversal of the roles we used to know back in the
It is,
days.
but it's more efficient, right? It's more efficient. I don't, if I'm in the morning, I have two meetings and I need to pick my kids from school. The last thing I want to do is spend 6 hours in a bank branch on Allen Avenue, right? So I think it's just more efficient, right? And you know that, okay, I do this transfer, I get it done in 10 seconds, they've received the alert. So I think those are the things that help drive that inclusion. And people are building trust for these new entrants as well. So these new brands, you trust them as much as you trust a GT, an Access, a First Bank.
This leads us to in trying to get the financial inclusion education, you would agree, it's key. So the ability to get the use of the smartphone and operate it, a bank account, how does this factor in for digital connectivity?
So I think you need digital connectivity to access these resources, right? I think obviously when you go on the internet, you need either Wi-Fi or fiber connectivity, but you need to get a device. So you need a smartphone, you need hardware. But when you connect, you need that connectivity to access a mobile app. You need that connectivity to do a bank transfer online. You need that connectivity to have an access to a bunch of the tools. So we need to find the gap between financial inclusion and digital connectivity. You can't have one without the other.
Now that you touched on digital connectivity, we see Nigeria, especially listening to Tijani Bosum back in the day, saying there's still need to increase the broadband penetration and all that. But can we really get a uniform? Do we need to wait as a country until all parts of the country achieve uniform standards? Like, you have to achieve the standard of Lagos before you expand to parts such as the far-flung areas in Bayelsa, say, Karanamoda in the north?
No, you're entirely correct. But we're also seeing different businesses spin that up. You have companies like Tizeti who partnered with Facebook offering mobile Wi-Fi. You have companies like Starlink who are now, I mean, quite on the expensive side. But you're still seeing them doing, remote satellite internet access. We can't wait for even the public sector to spend another 5 years laying fiber, right? And we also can't wait for private sector to generate the. So I think there are different ways, right? Data from the telcos has been very important. And you're seeing more people even buy smartphones as opposed to buying feature phones. And that is just helping that adoption, even in the most rural of areas across Nigeria.
So just one moment. I'd like to also let the listener know we're expecting to get your reactions to this conversation. You feel threatened in any way that someday you would be replaced at your place of work by artificial intelligence, AI in what you do? Are you getting ready for that day, or you don't feel threatened at all? Let's know what your thoughts are. Send us a message on to 0809-444-0981. So let's bring it to the area of gender balance, parity, because it is the month. It's March already, and it's International Women's Day, a week from today. So how can we get more women into this digital connectivity basket we're looking at?
So I think it's meeting people at their points of need, right? So one of in our business Go 54, one of the things we've done is we have email marketing tools that help different businesses actually send out marketing in a more efficient way, bulk SMS, so as opposed to texting 4 or 5 people at a time, right? And we have a lot of women who are actually our largest customers doing this. So they're selling products, right? And they're just sending out to 10, 15,000 customers. Another thing we're doing is really supporting girls in STEM. And I think that's very important because it starts from the education, right? And you have the more women you actually have in these spaces and at these tables, they are themselves also going to be sponsors for the next generation. But I think that parity is super important, especially as Nigeria leaps from the next phase of growth.
Okay, well, gradually the tray is getting empty now as we're getting close to the end of the conversation. But let's go on to what you make of the school curriculum in private and public institutions, and can we, as get this race started up with to educate Nigerian youths?
Yes. So the curriculums are one thing, and I think we don't have as much control over that, especially on the public sector side. But I think what we're seeing now is new models of education, right? So you're having folks who are learning to code and don't have to go to university, for example, right? You would do a 6, 8 month, 8 week boot camp, and you have everything you need to even get a job, right? A remote job in the US and Europe and Canada. You have incubated accelerators, different ways to learn those tech skills that are not necessarily the standardized, 3 year, 4 year, 6 year school course. And I think that's the model to go. It's more affordable, it's more accessible.
We can't let you off without asking how you see artificial intelligence AI adoption growing in Nigeria. Let's even this year as a benchmark.
No, I think it's rapid. Yes, you're going to start seeing it everywhere, right? If I bring it back home for us, again, I mentioned AI website builder. We have an AI diagnostics, right, which helps you ask, hey, how can I position my business better? Or what am I doing better? And that just looks through your SEO, your business profile, your rankings, and says, hey, go for it for you do this, you do that. And so I think more and more, right, as the global world, even customer support, you're seeing people saying, hey, look, I don't need 100,000 agents, right? And so Nigeria is not far behind at all in that sense, right? We have a lot of tech companies here, and you're going to start seeing that adoption from the chatbots, right, to the business sales, to the products and services. I think very much in 2024.
But again, looking at this, it seemed like man, or we just AI would promote laziness. That's just what it is, looking for ways to lay back and let people do things. That's what it's really all about.
I like to call it efficiency and a better use of time.
Okay. Let's see if what Tayo thinks. Tayo's got a message waiting for us, and it touched something very that is like the nerve of what if we can ever make a leap in that direction. So Tayo says, artificial intelligence without electricity. Anyway, I'm sending my message from my domain without power. Let AI talk the future. So how do you respond? AI movement development in Nigeria without power. How critical is this in summary?
No, entirely correct and true. But we can't wait to fix those problems, right? There's some what I call macro problems around electricity and infrastructure, right? But that can't stop the micro growth, right, of the micro SMEs and the businesses. So I think it happens hand in hand, right? We can't wait to have electricity and a fully functioning grid before we then went to AI. The world would have gone ahead of us.
See, Gilbert comes up with a message for you, and he says from Festac, artificial intelligence will not be a threat to humans because nature has a balance for human inclusion in all spheres of life. So it comes across as if you will still need humans to stay behind these AIs at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, they have to be updated. They have to, right? I mean, it's computing, right? So they're also learning and they're not error
Yeah.
proof. So, yeah, I agree
Connect,
entirely.
just connect Tyre's thoughts once again. Now, see, you said we can't wait for us to get full electricity efficiency for us to delve into the AI frontier. But it also hampers the efficiency of AI. Imagine getting started on a project and then coding. Things would malfunction because light goes off and on. It's not stable and it's not programmed for that kind of work environment.
That is true. But with AI, you're probably going to do it in 30 minutes before they take light, right?
Okay, it looks like a very fine place for us to get this conversation closed. I want to say thank you to our guest this morning. Such a good company to have. Toluwani Adejuyigbe, CEO, Geo54. Thank you for your time. Have a great Friday and a great weekend by extension.
Likewise. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I see Angel's message. All right, Angel, thank you so much for listening. But this is where we'll leave it. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa. Good morning.